with a presentation today, and what I've decided to do this evening is a little snippet from something I learned in a breakout session when I was at convention. So we're recording this tonight, and it's Jeanette McDonald and Jen Cooper doing the training on the 6th of November. All right, so let's begin. We're going to share the screen to start with, and then afterwards, after we've shared this short PowerPoint on screen, we're going to have an opportunity to maybe demonstrate or practice what we learn and open up to a few questions. So that's how it'll go. It's going to fit in the half-hour slot nicely. So let's go, Jen. We're going to share the screen.
Maybe if you could perhaps, let me have a look.
Okay, I'll let Jen fiddle with that so that I actually get started, but we need that just over on this side. Jen, that'll be great, and into that view, and that'll be great.
This view?
Yes, please. That'd be great.
Okay,
so here we are. When I was at convention just over a month ago, I went to a breakout session by a couple who found their home in ASEA only about 9 months ago, and that was Cheryl and Tim Faulkner. And they talked about when we first come into a new business of any kind, we have to find our way. When we decide that we're going to share this business or share our story or share the product, whichever way we decide to work with it, we need to develop a package. We have to develop a story. And they talked simply about we have to learn to package our own story so that we can have an impact on people. So I just decided tonight, okay, let's learn to package your ASEA story, because that truly is the pathway to success. Is that number 2? Okay, so I've just written here, to share ASEA and build a successful business, we all have to find a way to package our story. What we notice is the further along we move with our business or with the products or with what we're learning, we notice that we have two stories to share. And of course that means we have 2 stories to prepare, and they're aimed at 2 different prospects or 2 different groups of people. First of all, there's our product story, or usually our health story. So that's a story about us and how we notice some benefits. So that's the first one, and that's truly the most common one. That's the one that captures our loyal users, but that's also the starting point for many of us who lead with the product. No questions about it, hands down, that's often the first way we start. As we go along and we decide, okay, there is actually a business in this and I want to be part of this, then we might develop our business story. And then we might use that business story with people who've said to us they'd like to build a business. And that's when we're really looking for our rock star business builders. So our story must be 2 minutes or less. In fact, less than 2 minutes is actually better. And the story needs to be effective and real and a little bit sort of transparent in a way. Authentic, I suppose, is the word to describe it. And if it's all of those things, then it will capture the attention of our audience. And our audience is one person, or it could be a group of people sitting together. What we know, or what we have found, is that people we're talking to and we're wanting to share a story with, they buy us. They see our excitement. They might not even know us, but very quickly learn to trust us from what we say or from our stories. And some people who've known us for some time, they might see a difference in us, or they see the change in us and they want to know more about it. Others just catch the vision or catch our excitement or catch our enthusiasm, and they want to come along with us. So they catch our message. All right. So what we know about ASEA is that you don't stay in one place with ASEA for very long. You're always moving forward, and each week you begin again because you're never at zero. So each week you begin again with new groups of people. Each week you begin again with a new conversation. Each week you try to capture people. So, you know, you want to bring along people with you, but you've got to paint a picture, paint a compelling vision of where you're going. And you can only paint that compelling vision of where you're going if you know where you're going. And you can only know where you're going if you truly have a vision for a start, you have some goals, you have some beliefs. Some people will catch on to it without knowing very much at all, and they'll want to join you on the journey. Other people will want more, and those people will require science and more information. But in general, it doesn't matter what your audience is, whether they require a lot from you or a little from you, you must start off with your story, your package. So, to figure out our pathway to package our story, we have 5 questions to answer, and these 5 questions are what we shape the story around. We have 2 stories. We have a product story or a health story, and the second one we have a business story or possibly a financial story for some people who are looking for that. What I know is that if we follow this map, we'll find the treasure through our own story. That's why I've put a treasure map up for the whole presentation tonight. So we'll just move on, Jen. So these are the 5 questions. Both our stories, whether it's the business story or the product story, both of the stories begin with the 5 questions. Where was I? What did I see? What did I do? Where am I at now? And where am I going? And the answers to those questions have to come together in less than 2 minutes. Sounds almost impossible, but it's not. So let's go on, and you'll see the 5 questions on the next page. Here we are. Tonight, I'm only going to focus on our product story because that's the first story we need, and this is where we all have to begin. Because people will ask us questions about what are we up to, what's going on, and generally people will be looking for your answers to these stories. Now, we've just got a little bit of interference here, so we'll might have to mute all, I think.
Okay,
that's good. I think you've allowed everyone to unmute themselves.
No.
Mute all?
Yeah, mute all.
Okay. Just continue.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, we're just trying to keep up with all the technical stuff because there was a little bit of interference coming right across what we were doing. So here's the 5 questions. First one, when you first heard about the Redox products, where were you? Where were you up to with your own health issues? So where was I? And that's truly your starting point. So when you first heard about Redox, your first introduction to Redox, whether it was somebody taking you to a presentation, whether it was a friend saying, oh, this is what I'm doing now, however it happened, that's your starting point. So the first question that you have to answer is, where was I? The second question is, when I was introduced, what opportunity did I see? Now, if it's related to health or your personal story, your product story, the opportunity will be about what opportunity did I see for myself in using the products, or if it's a business story, it'd be what opportunity did I see for myself business-wise or finance-wise. But we're just focusing tonight on the product story. Third question, what did you do? What action did you take when you heard about it? Did you head off and decide to research it? Did you take action immediately? Did you ask for some advice? Did you say, I want to know more, I'll come to a presentation? Did you host a presentation? What did you do? Where am I at now? And this is your positive experience or that of another. And this positive experience is about where are you right now? So if you've been on these Redox products for 12 months, then it's where are you now, 12 months on? So that's really how you'd start that part of your story. And then number 5, where am I going? Your vision, your goals, be real, be specific. That's sort of really about how, that's really about the little treasure map of how you would move along with your story, your product story or your business story. So tonight, that's our shared screen and they're our 5 questions. We might just stop the share for a moment. Did everyone get the questions down? Just hands up. You're copying them, you got them down? Just the 5 questions? Great. So let's stop the share for a moment. All right. And now we're back here with everybody on board, and I know you're all muted for the moment, but I'm actually going to demonstrate how that little 2-minute story goes. So before I do that, I'd just like a little bit of feedback. Did everyone follow that? Is everybody with me? So anyone just want to unmute yourself and just say, just following that, it was just fairly simple, just getting to that point.
Yeah. Julie's right.
Julie's right. She's following along really well.
Yep. Thanks, Jeanette. It's fantastic.
All right. So everyone's moving along okay. Great. All right. Now I intend to just do my little demonstration of less than 2 minutes, and we actually have a timer here. So we're going to, once I start, we're going to hit the timer, and I'm going to actually get those 5 questions into my less than 2 minutes in just a little package, a little wrap that that might give you an idea of perhaps a starting point, because everybody has to start somewhere. One of the things I know also just about the story is as you go along, you might embellish it a little bit or add a piece to it, but it should never move beyond the 2-minute mark. Once you go beyond the 2-minute mark, you are telling too much. You've got to keep it very simple and answer the 5 questions. So here we go. I'm just going to do a quick little demonstration.
And I'm timing.
And Jenny's timing.
I get all the tech jobs.
Okay.
Ready?
Yes. Okay. 18 months ago, I was just coming out of a major health crisis. I'd had a situation where I'd had some abnormal rogue cells in my body. I went through some abdominal surgery and 6 months of very invasive treatment. I was introduced to the Redox products, and at the time I thought this could truly be the answer to my prayer. I was putting out to the universe and everyone around for a solution. I never wanted to have rogue cells ever again in my lifetime. I saw this and I thought, maybe this is my way forward. So immediately I started on the products. I started with the topical gel, and then in that period of time I had a first aid issue where I spilt a pot of boiling water over my feet and had 2nd-degree burns. With the application of the gel, I had rapid, accelerated healing, and I saw it with my own eyes. I moved then immediately onto the supplement, and I just went up a few gears straight away in my health, my recovery, my endurance, no fatigue, just everything changed overnight. So now, 18 months down the track, I'm in the best health I've ever been in. I keep getting brilliant blood results from my doctors and the team around me. I'm confident about my health, and I'm really pleased about my future. Where I'm going right now is staying well. I plan to travel more. I want to share the message of the amazing molecules and build a long-term future with ASEA. That's my story.
Yay,
there we
10
go.
seconds to spare.
Yeah, there you go. So sometimes I do that in 1 minute and 30, but tonight it was about 1 minute and 45. Okay, so it's always got to be under that 2 minutes to capture attention. So any feedback?
You just need to unmute yourself.
Unmute yourself if you want to say something to me.
That was brilliant.
Okay, good.
It was brilliant. Yeah.
Good. So there you go. That's my story. And some people would say it's okay for you, Jeanette. You have a big story. It doesn't matter whether you have a big story yourself or you have someone close to you who has a big story. You can share that. But even if you only have a little story in terms of you didn't have a huge health condition, you are really lucky because you don't have a big health condition to deal with. You are in a space where you're able to prevent things before they happen, and you're in a much better position than I was when I started. Jen is going to do her story. She doesn't have a big health story like mine. She has a very different story, and I'm going to time her. So this is demo number 2. Hang on.
Well, prior to me knowing anything about ASEA, I was in a situation where I had some really uncomfortable, a real discomfort with my hip, and I had a couple of other health issues that affected my digestive system and my immune system, and I was really struggling with energy and fatigue. When I was first introduced to ASEA, what I saw, first of all, was the science. I found myself wanting to research and find out more and more, but I was also very keen to get started on the actual product. So for me, I just jumped in. I got enough product, and because I'm a practitioner, I got enough product for myself and some people around me to actually start trying. I saw some results for myself, and I thought, okay, I want other people to see what they can see as well. So for me, I got enough product to share with some other people. And so I guess really for me, I took the kind of action to see people around me get to see what results they were getting. That really started to grow, and I could see from one person who shared it with the next person, and then the next person, and then the next person, the influence that those people had, and how I could really start seeing how this could spread from one person to the next. And actually, that's when I started to see that there was an opportunity here for me. So where I'm at now, I'm same as Jeanette, I'm 18 months down the track. I'm 52 years old. I feel like I am in my late 30s, early 40s, and I'm feeling like I have the best energy that I have, and I recover well, and I have no digestive issues at all. And for me now, where I'm heading with this is absolutely wanting to share it. I want to travel, and I really see that ASEA is the way forward for health and for the health of people, globally. So that's where I'm heading with ASEA.
Brilliant. So Jen was about 5 seconds off 2 minutes. So we're sitting under that 2 minute, still telling the story and putting it in, and her story is different to mine. We just did a practice run earlier on, and her story is different to mine to show you that it doesn't have to be a story of massive proportion to have influence. It doesn't have to be a massive personal story to actually engage people and to get people moving along this pathway with regard to either building a business or sharing the product. Now, we know that not everybody who says they're going to build a business will. We know that not everybody who says they're just going to be a customer will. We know that in our team, as you will have in yours, there are people who are sharers, there are people who are connectors, there are people who are builders, and there are people who are leaders. And that's kind of the styles of people there are. Doesn't matter whether you're a leader, and we see ourselves as leaders, that's where we want to go. Doesn't matter whether you're a leader or whether you've got people who are sharers or loyal customers. They still have to be at the point where they have a story to tell. And the best way to tell a story is to keep it short, to be brief, to be brilliant, to not vomit over people with a whole pile of information or too muchness, to just keep it simple. When you keep it simple and you come from that place, not only are you authentic, that's one part, you have to be authentic and real, because if you're authentic and real, people start to trust you and they start to want to come along with you. And then if you come from that place, you seem to have a lot more confidence in your ability to be able to handle problems, jump over hurdles, be able to short-circuit roadblocks, and to be able to handle any of the questions that come your way. But the first port of call for all of us, if we're not confident with our ability to share our own story quickly and with clarity, it's almost like your message can't take off. So is there anybody on this call who might be willing to
Have a go.
try the 2-minute? We'll time you, don't worry about that. Who might want to just do a little demonstration for it, or a little share?
Have a go. Yeah.
Have a go, have a try.
We've had time to practice, but it'd be great if someone would, or maybe two people, got time for Deborah. Yes. Okay, you've unmuted
Okay,
yourself,
Deborah, I've got the trusty timer at hand.
At hand.
So your time begins now.
So I came across ASEA in February 2015. One of my clients said, Deborah, you've got to make time for my partner and I to check this stuff out. We're coming to Townsville. So I made an hour, and I wasn't looking for anything, but it really got my curiosity, and I bought a tube, and in trying that tube on myself and my clients that week, I was quite impressed with the benefits that I saw happen. I did have issues with my skin. There was sun damage that was bleeding on my face and on my right hand, on my right side of my face actually. And so I was really concerned because I thought something invasive might have to be done, or something that could cause me a lot of pain. So I decided to jump on board and get this product to try it properly. I have not regretted doing that. My skin has recovered, and since using more of the products, since they've become available, my energy is better. I just turned 57 last week, and I'm feeling like a 25-year-old sometimes. Sometimes not, but yeah, depending how long I have the grandchildren for. But I'm just so pleased to be able to have a product that's safe. I love that safety factor. And prevention, because I've faced the rogue cells in my thyroid back in 2002, and I'm really booked in to do my last ultrasound for a long time now, I'm hoping, because my doctor's on board and he's trialling it for himself. So I'm really looking at prevention, but now I'm excited to see the opportunity of the financial side of things. That's where I'm going, learning more about that.
Excellent.
Perfect. That's 2 minutes. Well done. Well done.
Great.
You were just skidded into that 2 minutes. So that's great.
That's really good.
Really good. Really good. Anyone else want to try a demo? Thanks, Deb. That's great for jumping on board.
Who's keen? Here we go, Janice.
Okay, Janice. Fantastic. I'm your timer, of course. So are you ready to go, Janice?
Oh, no, I'm not. Here we go.
Okay, and your time begins now.
I was introduced to the redox molecules in May 2015 by the beautiful Janine Babowski, and I used it on my mother, who was in ICU, and I wasn't much impressed with it. It seemed to dry her hands out. I returned back to Hobart. It sat on a shelf for 3 weeks, and she encouraged me to use it on my clients. As a health practitioner, I use this word miraculous. I actually saw in one day 6 outstanding results that just turned my life around. And then when I returned back to Melbourne, I then really started using on my mum. I saw dramatic results with her within a month, but she was still very health challenged, and she was handed over from 6 respiratory specialists to palliative care, end stage life, and I was encouraged to use the Redox liquid with my mother. And the long and the short of it was written up on her files, it was implemented, and she went from end stage nil limit morphine to 5 weeks later sitting having a roast meal with my father. That completely turned my whole life around, And I have not been able to stop sharing these redox molecules with all and sundry that's within a metre of me. And I see now the residual income that's coming in because I drive this with my heart. And I just have so many people on this product that I can't twist their arm to get off it. If you've got a health challenge, honestly, give it a go for 3 months and it really will turn your life around. And where do I see my future? I see my future so much better financially, not because I'm driving from the pocket, I'm driving from the heart, and I'm just so inspired with this product, with this company. Thank you very much.
Just get it into 2 minutes, but fantastic, Jess.
How did I go? Did I cover all subjects?
That's great. All 5 of them. So you can see tonight, we've just demonstrated it. 2 people, Deb and Janice, have just done it. They've skidded into that 2 minutes, and that's fabulous.
And Janice, with your story, it was about your mum's story, not so much about your story.
Yes. So see, you can sell it or share it or get people involved even on someone else's story if you feel like you don't yet have a story. But
well, I do have a personal story that I can actually use, and I'm not going to do that now.
No.
And I've got so many other stories, and I tweet that down. And you're absolutely right, girls. Brief it down to 2 minutes because you lose them. It doesn't matter how bold the story is, you just lose them. And I rattled that out really quickly. I don't normally rattle it out that quickly, but just come from your heart. And honestly, when you flow from your heart, your story sells no matter what it is.
Yeah, and also if you're just getting your story into just a small story, it allows to have that space for other people to be able to talk to you about their story. And that's where all that listening and asking and everything that, some of us have been learning with Clay comes into that. So it's not all about you giving so much information. It's about giving a little bit and then allowing them to have that space to be able to talk to you so you can actually listen and find out, what solution, what are they looking at, and are they looking for a solution in the way that you were? So it's just a great way of coming in with that.
But that 2 minutes really is the story. When somebody says, I noticed you're up to something different. I noticed that because I saw a few photos of you, at Salt Lake City, or you at a presentation. I noticed that on Facebook. So tell me a bit about it. So that 2 minutes is the great thing. If look, we met, we've been out and about meeting strangers and they ask you, what are you up to? What are you doing? That 2 minutes is all you need maybe to spark interest. Maybe it won't. That's not the aim of it. But the aim of it is you have to get confidence in your 2 minute spiel about what you do. It used to be called an elevator speech once. This is not really an elevator speech. This is your story. And your story is what's needed to, to really get moving in this business. You can develop up all kinds of stories, but you have to have one stock standard 2 minute quick intro because that's sometimes all the time you have. And so that's what we just wanted to share with you tonight. We'd encourage you to get practicing it, just to write the 5 questions down and then just write your answers, a couple of little dot points. Just practice it in the mirror till you get your 2 minute spiel. In fact, today I was doing it just 1.5 minutes and I was being brief and brilliant. I was just a tiny bit longer tonight. So I'm going to knock it back down to 1.5 minutes, get it there and keep it there because I think that's all we need.
Yeah, and I go along with that too because for me, I've done it a couple of times and it changes a little bit too. And I think we find that, our story is not always going to be the same so that we tell the same story all the time. But if we can get that into a short space and, maybe 6 months' time you change it a little bit more again, but always keeping it simple.
But once you get into the groove of it, it becomes your flow and it becomes your way of people noticing who you are for the first time. And that's important. First impressions is what will have people coming along with you or not. And in this business, it's not about selling a product. It's about people coming along with you on your vision through your message. That's really what it's about. If your message captures them, they will want to get on board with you. And I've always said this: if you're telling the truth and your message matters, then if you get on that train, people will want to get on that carriage with you. We're getting on a train, and that train is going to be going full steam ahead. And I've invited some people to come on the train, on the journey with me, and some people are not interested. So I've just let them go. They'll have to catch a carriage later on, or maybe they won't catch a carriage. But the people who are on that carriage, we're happy to support them, but they have to have a level of confidence, conviction, and posture. And this is the first way to get that established. So that's my little talk for tonight. So I think we might be at the end.
Yeah, does
We're
anyone
definitely
else,
at the end, but any questions as we finalise?
Or anyone have anything to
Add.
say, comment, add?
You can unmute yourself if you'd like to before we go.
Janine, hello.
Hello. I just wanted to say that's brilliant, because when you actually hear someone do a 2-minute share, it's a lot of information.
Yeah.
And I think if you're any longer, you're just waffling. And, I think you could lose people. So it's to be very succinct. So I think if following those guidelines, people want to know, what was life like before?
Yeah.
And what's it like now? And what sort of future do you see? I mean, that's really powerful. And, not everyone's going to relate to the same pain you had, but if it's not them personally, it's usually somebody they know. And like you said, you don't have to have your own ASEA story to start sharing it, because often people come in to start using the product based on someone else's story, and then they would just share that.
Yeah.
What really got my attention was when I met Jeanette, she shared with me, her story, and I was really inspired to get going. And she actually says what your story was, and that's enough, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then, of course, as you go along, you build your own bank of
Your own
stories,
story.
and then you can move with that. But that shouldn't stop you from sharing.
No, absolutely not. I mean, once people have joined, and, if they're not in Renew with Redox, add them in there. They're going to see things that are just, going to blow them away in terms of possibilities.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so down the track in a training, we intend to do the business story, but tonight was just the product story, because that's where most of us will start.
Yeah, and such a great reminder. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks, Jenny.
Thank
Can
you.
I also add that based on the storytelling, I would predict that Jen and Jeanette, there may have been an influence of my initial story being compounded and passed on to you girls, and by the person that signed you up, and her own personal story. So it's really important to listen to those stories and just think about the people that are in your world that may have a challenge. And
you're
That's for
absolutely
sure.
right, Janice, definitely.
Yeah, thank you.
Tracy, you were going to say something? Tracy?
I saw the opposite of it on the weekend when someone was telling me their story about another product, not a health product, but they just went on and 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 on. They lost me completely. So that was it. This same concept in reverse. So it just brought home to me how important just to tell the 10% of what you know succinctly and proudly, and then sit back and wait for the questions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tracy.
Is there anything in the chat that we need
I'll
to-
just check the chat. Leah said it's duplicatable and powerful. Yep, that's absolutely right. Yep. Nice and simple.
That's good. So that's good. So as long as we were able to hit the spot tonight, you've learnt something, you can take it away and you can use it, because that's what a training should be. Something you can take away with you, like there's a message that you take away, you put into practice immediately so that you have a new skill or you have a use for it back in your world. So it's nice and practical.
And this is being recorded, so I'm not sure where it will be, but it will be somewhere
Soon.
And we'll go because
Yes,
the product
that's
story, the training will be on again at 8 o'clock.
Yeah. So on the strength of that, we'd love to unmute you all.
And we can do that.
Jen's
Unmute you all.
Unmute all.
And we can all say goodbye.
Lovely to have you with us on this Melbourne.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.